Hey everyone, welcome to the Americana Station podcast. I am your host, Will Payne Harrison. I'm so excited that it's finally spring and that it's not dark at 5 anymore. That's exciting. So, I do hate time change, but just really when we're falling back, I love springing forward. I love the birds are chirping today here in Nashville. They're excited about spring. COVID numbers are falling. So that's exciting. People are getting the vaccine. We're seeing a little bit of music here and there starting to pop up for the summer. I saw that Great Peacock is doing a spring tour with the Cordovas. So get vaccinated so you can check that out because those guys are awesome. They're not only just great people, but my God, their music's great. They've been staying in the top 10 on the Americana charts for like forever. And Andrew promised me, as soon as they get to the Ryman, that I have written proof. As soon as they get to the Ryman, that I get a backstage pass. So go support them, get them to the Ryman, so I can go backstage and watch them. And I'm also excited because I have Eric Bolander. We actually did this podcast months ago, so it might sound a little bit dated. I'm sorry for that. Had a lot of content to put out, but Eric has a new video that is out now, and he's working towards a new record, and I wanted to get the word out about that. Eric is such a great guy too, just an amazing songwriter, person, and just a pleasure to speak with. One of the most fun people to interview, honestly, because you can just sit back and he'll, he knows how to talk. He knows what to say, and it's just a great interview. So I'm excited for you to hear that. I'm also excited. This is just the day of excitement. Spring is in the air. I'm happy. I'm also excited to announce a few more people that are coming on the podcast. Arch nemesis Kyle Crownover from Keekers and Ferg number 2 podcast will be on the podcast, the number 1 podcast here. In a couple of weeks. He has a new EP, Another Day in Our 20s, which is phenomenal. Make sure you go to Americana Highways because I did a review of his new EP, and check that out. Make sure that you donate to Americana Highways. I don't know if you know, but I am a little associated with them. I do some playlists, which I'm about to update here today. I do some reviews for them. They're wonderful people. Melissa's amazing. So go support Americana Highways so that people like that are on the podcast can have a place and a platform to get their music out other than just this podcast. We need more stuff like that. And Americana Highways is amazing. They're a nonprofit. They're not taking any money. So any donation you give them really helps them keep the Wi-Fi on, the lights on, and the website up. And in that same vein, I also am a nonprofit, not in the sense that I'm registered that way. I just haven't made any money off this podcast. I'm doing it out of the kindness of my heart because I love these musicians and I believe in them. And it's not a high stakes thing for me. I don't have a lot of overhead costs other than hosting and just my time invested in this. But if you like the podcast and you want to make it, better, so we can do more stuff. I want to work towards, I actually am in talks with a friend to start doing some videos. We're going to do some video series with some of our artists, but that does cost money and time. And to expand the podcast and to do more things where we can get more content to you, we will need to make more money. So with that said, I didn't do a Patreon. I went the Bandcamp route because I'm really wanting to support Bandcamp. I think they're doing great things. So if you go to willpayneharrison.bandcamp.com, there is a VIP where you can get exclusive Bandcamp content, including I just did a version of Dublin Blues, Guy Clark song, that's available only on Bandcamp. I'm going to be uploading I think it's a 2016 Blue Plate special live with a band, with a string band that I did. I just got to edit it and master it. I haven't listened to it in years, so I'm not sure how it sounds. Hopefully it sounds okay, but we'll get some live stuff up on there. But additional to that, we're going to be doing extra podcast content. So I've got a few extra minutes with the Rough and Tumble, with Zach Russell, and of course Eric Bolander. That will be up on there for you to listen to, exclusive content that you can only hear on there. So if you're a fan of the podcast and you want to get additional content from these artists as well, I'll be doing that. So that'll be fun. And what else will be up on there? I just released a Bandcamp exclusive as well of a song called Despite My Sin about my daughter. So if you feel like listening to a sad, sappy song about how much I love my daughter, that will also be included in your monthly VIP. The donation starts at $5 a month. It's not too much to ask. It's a cup of coffee, just when you turn on the podcast, you might have to just make your coffee at home that day, but then you help me out with getting additional content so we can get videos of Kyle and Zach and Eric and the Rough and Tumble and people like that, where you can actually see them perform live in the studio. So let's get that done. Help me out by supporting me at willpayneharrison.bandcamp.com. It's very appreciated. Moving on, like I said, we have the Cordovas and Great Peacock are doing a tour this spring, so be sure to check that out. Just Google that. I don't have the website on hand at the moment, but I'm really excited about that. I do have a bone to pick with them a little bit. Frank and Andrew and Blunt, why are you not coming to Nashville? I just want to know. You're coming to Atlanta. I think you're coming to Lexington. You're going to Cincinnati. You're going to all the places around Nashville. Why are you not coming to Nashville? I think they're waiting for that Ryman show so they can get me backstage. But yeah, make sure that you check them out and get your tickets and be safe. And let's talk to Eric Bolander.
The only side to the coal mine is the top side. Fresh air, family. You spent your whole life living on the short side. A pup on company strings. Take all of your wishes, thoughts and your prayers. Lay 'em all on the whispers of gold men just don't care.
Hey, we're here with Eric Bolander. It's been almost 2 years since the last time he was on the podcast, and I'm happy to have him back. Eric has some new singles out, and right before the Wi-Fi cut out on both of us, we were talking about that. So you've released 2 singles, and you're about to release a third. Is that right?
Yeah. We released the single Magic Moon back in June, and we released Window early August, and I've got the third single that's going to be on this new record that will come out early 2021.
Awesome. And you said you're in the middle of recording a video for it as well.
Actually, I'm in the editing process. I directed it, and my good friend Chris Willer went with me to do all the footage, do all the filming. And so, yeah, that should be coming out the same time as the single. That's the goal anyway. You know how that goes.
Yeah. There's always some sort of hang up in the middle of that. So how has show playing been for you in COVID? I know I've seen you play a couple of socially distanced gigs, but how's it been? How's turnout been? Has it been weird for you?
Yeah, man, totally weird, obviously. And I've been fortunate enough to play some really decent, safely ran, socially distant stuff. But the sad part of it is, like, 2019, I played 100 shows, most of which were touring. And I've played, I think, 8 shows since March 14th, something like that. It's been kind of not counting any online or live streaming, none of that, but just actual live in front of people. It's been, I think, 8.
You've got me beat. I think I have 4.
mean, it's tough, and kudos to the venues who are trying to keep things rolling safely as they can. I understand that, this is a very serious medical issue with the pandemic, but also know that the industry is something that's, trying to survive and tread water right now until hopefully a vaccine or whatever the next answer is to get people moving closer to that normal. But yeah, man, it's frustrating, especially when I have this new music to get out in front of folks. But I have a decent online following, and my social media followers are pretty loyal and keep up with stuff, and they've done great keeping up with the live streams, and my management company, Black Mountain Management, has set us up with some cool live stream opportunities.
Yeah. It's not the same, but it's still nice. It's a nice, I guess, consolation prize for 2020.
Yeah, correct. Like being able to at least have content and make content. And, you think about the business side of things that us as musicians and songwriters don't, delve into early on in our career, like we probably should. But when you think about that side of things, putting out new content and fresh content and reimagined content is extremely important in growing a fan base. So if anything, I'm a half full kind of guy, and 2020 has forced a lot of us to reimagine how we're going to put new content out. Songs I'm saying, but like the live stream concerts clipped up into songs, new YouTube content, things for Instagram and Facebook and everything else.
Yeah. And you're looking at hopefully turning these singles eventually into a full-length EP. I mean, a full-length album in 2021, you were saying earlier?
Yeah, that's correct. The goal is to drop this third single in February. And then along with the video, and then possibly a fourth, but definitely the full record sometime late summer, early fall of 2021. That's the projection. Yeah.
Have you looked at touring at all in 2021 yet? Or are you just kind of seeing where the wind blows you? No pun intended.
Not really, man. I just, like socially right. The socially distanced stuff that I've done has been local and regional. I really just want to see what happens with, kind of these vaccine trials and sort of what other states are doing, because every state has their regulations and restrictions, but they're all kind of varied. And I'd really just like to be able to have semi of a clear path if I'm going to try to tour at all, because I tour quite a bit. I mean, even though I'm a teacher too, like, it's kind of two jobs basically. But for me, I've been out to Texas and Denver and all the Midwest a bunch, and down to Florida and up in Ohio and northern West Virginia and stuff like that. But I really don't want to try to jump out too far, because on one end, the pandemic's still going on. And on the other side of things, I think a lot of venues and types of places that we play are trying to help their local and regional artists out. So I feel like, a lot of places want to, help hold up their local folks too. So, I mean, I'm just going to try to find some social distancing stuff here in the region and do some, more content and online live streams here and there, and just to see what we can do.
Yeah. And a lot of stages are hurting, with the Save Our Stages kind of thing going on right now. I know I'm doing one of those online events for Southgate House Revival, which I know you've also played as well. And they're kind of struggling right now.
Yeah. I love Morella. She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Morella's awesome. Southgate. She's a beautiful person, man. She's great. And she's hit me up and helped me out a bunch, and it's made me feel at home up there. And that's basically Cincinnati pretty much. And she's treated me like a local up there, and it's about an hour and 20 minutes north of Lexington.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're struggling right now because they're a nonprofit. And like you said, she's always hooked me up way more than she should, and been so kind. And so we need to save those kind of places that you don't. What would we do if we didn't have places like that?
we wouldn't play.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I, nothing against the really big artists either, because they have crews and they have people, they have mouths to feed too. But I think the smaller local venues are so important to where, if they crumble and start falling by the wayside, it's going to harm the next 10, 15, 20 years of young aspiring artists as well.
For sure. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. It's such a weird, it's a weird thing. And some places, I don't know how it is in Kentucky, but some places in Nashville have been acting like nothing's happening and trying to just have regular shows. But a lot of the people in town, a lot of people just are not playing. Some people are, but it's a mixed bag. And I just don't want to get in the way personally of harming anyone. So I've just kind of thrown 2020 out the window, and I'll see what 2021 holds as far as playing music. But it's an interesting time here in Nashville for sure.
Oh, I bet, and it's funny with Nashville, you kind of have two separate sort of parts of the industry too. You have, of course, Broadway, a lot of artists that are out playing for all the tourists, that aren't there right now. And then you've got sort of East Nashville with kind of the really cool venues that are out there and stuff that are, it's hard for them probably too to hold shows, like the 5 Spot and D's and, several of the other small places out through there that are awesome venues. It sucks all around. And I mean, obviously there's the government and political aspect and all the other things that I don't really care to talk about, but just in general for the industry, I hope that we can really work together to get to some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. I just don't think it's going to happen this winter.
Yeah. So what we do want to talk about is your singles. I've heard Window. I'm not sure that I've heard Magic Moon. That one I just came out recently, right?
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Magic Moon came out in the summer, but Window, we had more push behind Window as far as PR goes.
Okay. So is there a theme to these songs that are coming out?
Oh man. As just like any artist, I'll be weird and complicated with my answer. You know how that goes. You're a songwriter. Man, they're each the way I look when I write songs, really, especially my last full length that we re-released in 2019. Those songs and forward, I really think of them as a chapter, as opposed to a page in terms of an analogy. I think of a song as its own chapter, and it's connected because they're all in the same book, but there's definitely, some of them are completely different storylines, and then some of them are, some kind of parallel to the other storylines. And there might be one or two that's a continuation, of a certain idea. But, in general, there's going to be kind of a lot of different things going on with these songs. But at the end of the day, I think hope and perseverance is always kind of an underlying theme in almost all of my music that I write. Yeah.
Did you use the same musicians from the last record on this one?
Yeah. So my core is my trio is obviously myself on guitars, and Seth Murphy is on cello and bass, and Ben Caldwell's on drums and backing vocals. And then we have kind of a fourth unofficial member, John Ferguson, who's sang backing vocals on every record I've done since I was in my metal band years ago. So he's been a good friend of mine. Used to be a neighbor of my wife and I, and he's really strong musician. He plays keys and some bass and some guitars, and he played on our management showcase show just a couple months ago. So it's great when I get a chance to get him to play live with us, but he's on the record as well, singing backup along with Ben. Um, but yeah, we've done all the instrumentation, and of course, Dwayne Lundy's my producer and the engineer at the Lexington Recording Company, and he does some stuff too, like some sounds, and I don't know I'd call them soundscapes, I guess, but just some of the filler stuff.
Yeah,
you've been in the studio plenty of times. You know how that is, like some things that are like
bells and whistles.
Sonically needed. Some padding. Yeah, exactly, bells and whistle. So he definitely has contributed to the sonic quality of the song just as much as the rest of us to a degree.
That's awesome. Have you done a lot of songwriting since you've had more downtime the last 6 months or so? Are you looking towards future projects?
Totally. I've written probably totally three of the songs going on this upcoming record have been written this year during the pandemic. I've got 3 or 4 unfinished parts and pieces of songs that need worked on as well from this year. I'm also working on a visual art project where I'm digitally illustrating every song I've written. So I've got about 8 of those finished as well. My goal is to eventually have a show to where it's a sort of an artist gallery opening / concert where you come out and you'll see like the designs I'm working on. And I haven't really put much out. I put a couple like kind of zoomed in sneak peeks of them on my Instagram, but I really don't want to put them out until I'm ready to actually launch that show. So that got put on hold. I was actually going to finish the Wind album, which is 10 songs, 9 songs technically, because we did 2 different versions. But anyway, I was going to do those artworks along with a couple other things and have a show here in Kentucky to where it was like, a small crowd and things like that. But then obviously that got pushed out of the calendar just due to everything going on. But now my goal is to actually illustrate every single song, and we'll see how far I get. But I spend several hours on them. They're very much because I do graphic design as well, and they're very much geared around the idea of a show poster, but not the name and dates and all that would go along with the show poster. Just kind of the idea each song would be its own sort of kind of show poster illustration.
The artwork that you have so far for these singles, I just love the colors and the design. It's super awesome. I love that it's kind of reminiscent of the cover of The Wind as well. It's got the same font and all that stuff. Did you design all of those?
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, actually. Oh, you did? So
there's a slow delay.
I've separated myself. Oh, okay. Sorry. Are we back? Maybe?
Oh, no. When I asked the question, you said yeah, because there was a delay, but then you said no.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So those artworks are done by a good buddy of mine. So what I've basically done since we redid The Wind is separate myself, my visual art part of myself and my musical part of myself, because you get so invested that it just is too much. So Jimbo Valentine is an amazing artist. His artist company is called Amalgam Unlimited. He's done designs for Tyler Childers, Arlen McKinley, and a slew of other artists. He's the main graphic designer, or the sole graphic designer for the V Club in Huntington, West Virginia. Yeah. He does all of their show posters, and he has for quite a while, several years. So I had him do a logo and then had him do the Wind album cover. And now he's taken over all of my solo artwork and the next record album cover as well.
It's killer.
Some people might recognize his work as the backdrop on Tyler Childers' tour in 2019. There's like a 3-eyed goat and this like sun setting in a big barn in a field. That's Jimbo's artwork.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, it's great. I love the colors.
Yeah, he's incredible, man.
It almost has like the Magic Moon one almost has this like Grateful Dead like black light kind of vibe to it. Super cool.
Oh yeah, totally, man. It's real bright and kind of like real funky looking colors, but also there's sort of this dark element to it, like mysterious element to his stuff, which I love, and for me, it's great because I'd done prior to meeting him and hiring him and just becoming friends with him. I'd done all my own stuff, and I still occasionally do some stuff, but man, it's such a deep breath of sort of like relief when you can put that out to somebody else that you trust and they give you back something where you're like, oh man. And of course I might ask for a couple small little tweaks or edits, but it's so good right out of the gate that it takes that extra step of putting out music out of my hands and off my lap to where I'm not worried about it,
Yeah, I would
not just the time commitment to doing artwork. It's also the emotional and like mental focus that you put into it. That's gone for me now. Like I can just put all my effort into, like right now I'm editing this film. I've got time to do that. I wouldn't do that if I was busy touring. You know what I mean? That's something I wouldn't take on. Right. So I have time to do that and write songs and get in the studio. All the while, Jimbo, I'll send him my idea and what I need. And he's working on that while I'm working on all the other stuff.
Yeah, I would almost equate it to maybe giving up all the engineering, because I do a lot of my own recording, but giving up the engineering to someone else, like now I can just worry on the songs and singing them and playing them and not mixing and mastering and all that other crap. Yeah, that totally makes sense to me for sure.
Absolutely, man. And that's like with my rock and roll band, Alcatraz Shakedown, our lead guitarist, our first record, we tracked to my house, and he engineered and mixed all of it, and it was just, it wore him down. I couldn't imagine. I've never done it, and I'm thankful because it's like, I get to go into the studio and have that person who's, like Dwayne Lundy, who's done the last couple records of mine, is like, it's very relaxed, and it's just about you and your performance and producing it and like piecing it together. And early on, I think it's good for folks to do a lot of all of it, because then you gain some appreciation and respect for what it takes.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah. And I think that some of it really just is, like you were saying, like the relaxation and not having mental space to create more stuff. Because if you're doing too much, like if you're doing your artwork and you're writing and you're booking your own tours and you're doing all this stuff, then something's got to give, and there's not as much space for maybe some other creative outlets that you're trying to do.
Yeah, totally. And on top of that, our goal may not necessarily be to become the next Chris Stapleton and be hugely famous or anything, but it's also, our goal is definitely as a performer is to build our fan base, which comes with that is like more booking, more management type, business type things, merch sales, and like all these other things get bigger within themselves. So you go from, playing clubs for $50, to 2 people to like maybe, playing like pretty decent festivals. And so now I've got, of course I'm with Black Mountain Management, and Tiffany Finley's our manager. And I have some folks that help out in the region with merch sales when we do play shows. And I've had that for the last, year and a half or so. And like, man, all that stuff is just a humongous help to like, not only just grow what you're doing, but also just a general function of having a band. It's really great to be able to trust some people outside yourself, because especially from a singer-songwriter's perspective, you are so attached to what you're doing. It's like this little thing that you're raising, it's a little animal. It's hard to like leave it to a babysitter for a while kind of thing,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And also like, there's just something about like the artist shouldn't be capitalizing. I mean, you have to, when you're starting out, you just don't have the people, to not do that, but you shouldn't be the one that is like over there running the merch sales. You shouldn't be doing that. Like that shouldn't, you should be out there talking to people and shaking hands and drinking beers with people and enjoying yourself after because you just worked. You were just on the stage for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, totally, man. And it's funny is like, I'm a pretty simple, humble dude, honestly, man. It still kind of surprises the hell out of me when somebody asks for an autograph. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've also learned over the years that, man, people, because I was a music fan, I still am, but I was a huge music fan before even picking up a guitar. So for me, I understand that. And I'm starting to get back to that point where it's like, man, these people just drove 3 hours to watch me play for an hour. Of course, I want to spend time. Obviously it's a little different nowadays with the pandemic, but nonetheless, like, yeah, I'm going to spend some time saying, hey, or just chatting with them or sharing a story or listening to their story or doing an autograph or a picture, but having somebody already there helping me sell merch, you know what I mean? Or helping me figure out whatever else. A lot of times if we're at a real busy show, pre-pandemic, my bandmates will help load stuff up while I'm talking to some people, 4 or 5 people come over to say hi or get a picture or whatever. And that's like this humongous help, that you didn't have 2, 3, 4 years ago. Yeah. I mean, it definitely is. It's part of that you don't really learn about, I guess. You just kind of, you don't realize what it takes and what's going on. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Well, like you said, you were a music fan before you even picked up a guitar. So like understanding that like what the fan wants is an important thing too. And like you have that empathy of like, okay, this fan just wants a moment of my time. I've touched them in some way that I didn't even know I touched them in. Now they just want to share with me because they feel connected, and not giving them that time because you have to load up or you have to, go check on merch or you have to, whatever you have to do. It definitely takes away from what the whole purpose of what we're doing, which is connecting with fans. Totally.
Absolutely. 100%, man. That's 100% accurate. And I always wondered, like artists that I would see at clubs like Bogart's in Cincinnati, where it's like, I don't know, 1,400 cap or something, 1,500 cap maybe, or, not huge rooms. Be like a metal show I'd go to in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I just always wondered things like, why is it taking them so long to come out and talk to us? Or, I was a kid, I didn't know how that kind of stuff worked. But, those dudes were probably loading their own gear into the van, or whatever, it's like, you think, I always laugh because there's this meme where it's, the whole, my friends think, this is what my friends think, this is what my mom thinks, society thinks, this is what really happens kind of memes. The one about being a touring musician, it's just like a picture of a Love's truck stop and like an interstate, like with flat roads, like, I don't know, a van with a flat tire, that kind of stuff. Is like, it's totally true as you think, all this, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll type thing. It's just like, it's so far from the truth.
I know,
because you're so busy doing all the things,
I saw one that was like a pandemic one, and it was like, I missed touring so much, so I just grabbed something that weighed 150 pounds, carried it up 2 flights of stairs, and then back down, and then put myself inside a cabinet for an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly
what it's like.
I just took a nap in my car so I could feel like I was out on the road.
Right. Yeah.
Just go 3 days without a good shower or something like that.
Yeah. I'll just live on 3 hours of sleep and, a Coke.
Yeah. I left my house with a cupboard full of food just so I could go to the gas station and get a beef jerky. So I could feel like I'm on the road. Yeah. I miss it. I mean, I did travel quite a bit and when I can, so I do have a full-time job too, but the fortunate thing for me as a working musician is that I do have a full-time job. So financially, I was not strapped like a lot of my friends were. And I feel for all my buds that are out there that are really have been scrambling for 8 months trying to figure out how to pay the rent, and like, unemployment went away for them, and just, Yeah, it's a struggle, man.
Yeah, and it's not getting any easier, especially with the all the unemployment benefits going away. So it's definitely, and it's not like just because the unemployment benefits went away that, you know, now there's work, there's not work, and
yeah, your problems didn't go away with it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So that's why I think it's so important for these venues and things to keep going as safely as possible. I get it. I mean, ideally, we all just not do anything. We would just do this. We'd Zoom, meet and play live streams. But at the end of the day, you know, you have folks that have, you know, a couple $1,000s a month in bills that, you know, even if they're sharing that with their significant other, that's a lot of money to come up with when you went completely jobless basically overnight. So there's places that are doing it really well. For example, the Burl here in Lexington, Kentucky, they're doing parking lot shows, which eventually is going to go away just because of the weather. But yeah, they're setting up tables. They're spaced out. You have to be with your group. You have to wear a mask. And you take it off when you sit down. They're being very, very conscientious about it. I can't remember if you get your temperature check there, but there's some other places where they'll do a temperature check at the entry. We played a festival in Somerset. What was it called? Moonlight Festival. And they had the whole town was shut down. They had like 5 points of entry. You had to get your temperature checked and put down a phone number or email with your name for contact tracing. I thought that was
that's awesome.
Pretty good compromise.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's up to people to follow along for the regulations, and, you know, not everybody's wearing their mask and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it's a great compromise when you're asking folks to at least be part of the process. We did our Black Mountain Management showcase with us and then Nashville guys, DOG. And it was going to be Nick Jamerson, but he actually had an issue, and the Brother Smith filled in. But anyway, when we had that, that's at John Grace is running that down in Pineville, Kentucky, and it's at Laurel Cove National Park, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful outdoor amphitheater, and they were doing the same thing of spacing out, wear your mask when you move around. So it seats, I can't remember, it's 300 and some at the limited capacity. I think it seats well over 1,000, something like that. Yeah. So they were spaced out, and there's people in these little pods. They did a really good job with it, and the stage it's actually kind of cool. There's this little moat in front of it, this little body of water in front of it. So the stage is quite a ways from the front row. So the artists are kind of out there on their own. Yeah. Away from folks. So the only one, great job. I'm just trying to think of places that are doing a great job of. Yeah. There was one in Georgia that we did. I did with Jess Chacoy, and it was Eddie Owen presents the Red Clay Music Foundry, and they were doing socially distanced ones. And they were like, hey, we're, capping out at 35 or whatever. And I was like, that's okay. That's a regular show for me. But, it's hey, man, 150. Shoot, if I'm out of town, I get 30 people show up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, they were doing the same thing. They were doing it, streaming it online as well at the same time, because they have nice cameras and stuff. And it's a theater, but they had everyone spaced out nice and far. And it just it felt good to feel like you're playing a regular show, but also being socially conscious of what's going on. Man. We just played, me and my drummer did a duo show with a cool duo, bluegrass folk duo here in Kentucky called Grits and Soul at a place called The Venue in Moorhead, Kentucky. And it's an old movie theater they redid as a music venue. Yeah. But yeah, they took out a bunch of their tables and everything's spaced out. I think was, I can't remember the max, 60 people max. There might've been 40 some people there. Felt really good and safe, and everybody spaced out, had their own area, their own table. Places like that are really doing a good job. I was at the Hi-Fi in Indianapolis, which is a really cool club, and their back parking lot, they basically took a Connex box and turned it into a stage in a small little green room. And I went up there with my cello player Seth, and we opened up for Arlo McKinley, and Rich Henderson was on the bill as well. they did a pretty good job too of spacing people out and things like that. But
That's awesome that that is happening at least somewhat in Kentucky, and they're doing some of that. Like City Winery here is doing some outside shows, socially distanced, and they've been doing pretty well with that. But yeah, it's in D's has been doing the temperature check. We were talking about D's earlier, and they were only allowing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like, and they've never charged before for tickets, but now they're charging, I think, just to kind of keep, like, they know, we can only have 25 people in here. So
they're probably trying to be able to pay the band while make a little bit of money, Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are some venues.
I mean, there's some places like, there's a venue that I book. I'm actually the booking agent for a downtown venue in Lexington called Elixir. But they're a restaurant as well, and they do brunch on weekends, and we're just doing live music on Friday night, and they do like a DJ on Saturday. I think they can only seat up to 60. They're actually 200 person cap. So just a matter of, trying to get people in, sit down, and then, buy some drinks and food and check out some music. Hopefully that, once things get back to semi fully open, and I'll be able to put some pretty cool bands in there, man. You'll have to hit me up.
Yeah, for sure.
Try to get in there.
Yeah,
be cool.
I'm just waiting for spring of next year and hoping, because me and Veronica Stanton we had about, I think, 3 or 4 weeks of tours this spring and summer, and I had some stuff with the Rayo Brothers, and it all just got killed, and we were able to salvage the Pennsylvania dates for April of next year, but it was kind of like I hope let's talk in January kind of thing, and yeah, it's just been a mess. So I'm hoping for
me, I had stuff booked out, because booking goes 3 to 6 months out.
Right.
A lot of folks, just fans of music listening to this, might not know that.
Or more.
I didn't know that. Shirley didn't know that until I was well into playing music. 3 to 6 months is your typical booking window, just in general, for small time touring. And then you got music festivals that can be upwards of a year.
Yeah.
Out. So I had weekends and like a 10-date tour with my trio in April, and just about every weekend up through middle of June booked. And I had 3 pretty awesome music festivals booked in late summer when all this hit. So hindsight, I'm glad I didn't have my summer booked yet when it came middle of March, because that's when usually I get all that set up to like early June, and then I book my summer, and my summer is where I do like, I don't know, 2019, I think I did 45 shows in June through mid to August.
Oof. So
for me, I was semi lucky, I guess, glass half full again,
Yeah.
I'm just glad it wasn't like, if it was literally April 14th when kind of this stuff happened, I would have probably had my entire summer booked.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just like, well, it sucks I lost all those shows, but it's also, it would have sucked even worse if I had to do like, if I had to like figure that out for twice as many shows.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but what can you do? Everybody's going through it,
It was weird too, because some people would just like cancel the show but not message us, and then some people would be very, very communicative about it.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, I had a few that just like, it was like, this show's been canceled. No email. I emailed them, hey, is this canceled? No email. So yeah, it's a mixed bag of communication, and yeah, it's
I think some folks that do the booking for places, they just kind of assume that the artist is paying attention to their social media, places and their website and stuff. It's like, dude, what?
No, we're not.
I can do that for 50 different places.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You just get the event invite link says canceled, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Man, I don't want to dive too far into that, but you definitely have a mental list of places you don't contact again just for those types of reasons,
For sure. Yeah. I immediately thought of a place.
I personally believe in, yeah, right. Oh, we both did probably.
Yeah.
But I personally, and this is my advice to any young aspiring musician trying to tour and things, don't burn a bridge. Like, absolutely don't burn a bridge, but you can make a note of what bridge not to go back to. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think I've seen artists do that and at their own detriment. For me, I think you should just draw a line in the sand. If there's a promoter or venue that's, homophobic or racist or just, sexually harassing a band member, things like that, obviously burn the bridge, maybe put them on blast. If that's something you want to do, you feel like would be helpful, cool. But if it's just a squabble of money or time slot or, the lack of any kind of hospitality or just things like that, or you show up to a place and the bartender doesn't even know they're having live music that night, clearly that wasn't your fault. Like things like that, don't put them on blast. Just don't go back.
I always just think check your ego at the door. Like none of us are.
There you go.
At a level that we deserve anything.
There you go.
And we should all be grateful that
and people that are at the level that deserve it shouldn't be that way either.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Eric, thanks so much for taking the time out to be on the podcast again. You're only the second guest I've ever had twice.
Man.
I appreciate you. And
all right. Well, that's a big honor.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people to go through, I'm sure, man.
Right. Yeah. But
thanks again for having me, and hopefully we can line up a show in 2021 together.
Let's make it happen.
We'll just play on your front porch and just people drive by and listen to us.
I'm all for it. We'll get that worked out. All right, man. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in today to Americana Station Podcast. Make sure you check out Eric Bolander's new single, Coldman, as well as the video for it, which is available now. And if you want to hear additional content, we have about 20 more minutes of additional content that will be available on my Bandcamp for the VIP members. So go check that out. $5 a month gets you additional content, including Rough and Tumble, Eric Bolander, and Zach Russell as well. So check that out and we'll have more additional content. Stay tuned because up next on the podcast, we have Crown Over. And we also have, DL Rossi is coming on, and we have the Sweet Lilies confirmed as well. There's more people in the pipeline. So click follow, like, and like I said, rate and review. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. I'm Will Payne Harrison.